Hi guys, my name's Katie, welcome back to my channel. Today, because it's like the middle of the year, when I'm filming this it's nearly the end of July, so I thought it would be fun to talk about my favourite reads of the year so far. Been a good reading year so far. Does anybody else have that feeling that when you've read so many good books in a row, like say 6, 7, 8 books plus, you're worried that you're going to come across one that's kind of shit and you're not going to like it? Hopefully that's not the case, because like I said, apart from maybe one, apart from one, all the books I've read this year I have really liked, and some I've really, really loved, which I'm going to be talking about today. So they're in no particular order of when I've read them. Just 7 books that I love for different reasons and that are going to probably stay with me for a long time. So the first one is Chaotic Good by Whitney Gardner. I read one of her other books, which I'm going to be talking about in a second. But yeah, I love this. It's, if anyone's seen the romantic comedy with Amanda Bynes called She's the Man, where she basically poses as her twin brother to play on the opposing school's football team. She disguises herself as a twin brother. This is kind of the same thing, only a lot more nerdy and a lot more geeky. The main character is into comic books and Comic-Con, and she designs like costumes and stuff for people and all that kind of thing. So she goes into a comic book store and is treated really badly and basically completely ignored by the people that work in there because she's a girl. So she disguises herself as a boy and she's welcomed into the shop with open arms with no problems at all. She joins the Dungeons and Dragons team and befriends all the people, but unexpectedly falls for one of the people who work in the comic book shop. So it's very funny and very uplifting, and because I love Marvel and I love X-Men and all that geeky, nerdy kind of stuff, I loved this book. I really did. I knew I was probably going to like this anyway from what I heard about it, because I heard it's like She's the Man, but with nerdy stuff, and I love She's the Man. It's one of my favourite movies and I love all nerdy things, so yeah, this was really good. I gave this 4 stars. Surprised me. I've said a few times I'm not the biggest fan of contemporary, but I read a few this year now that I really do like. I really do. I prefer contemporaries that are not really romance heavy. This one was really good. It was really, really funny. I recommend this one if you're into like geeky stuff and nerdy stuff and gaming and all that kind of thing. Then I recommend checking this one out because it's really good. The next one, I did a review of this on my channel, so go check it out if you want to hear some more in-depth thoughts about this book. This was I love this book. This is Made You Up by Francesca zappia. I read Eliza and Her Monsters last year. It was the last book I read last year. Bought this one straight away because I love Francesca zappia's writing style. And I read this one about a month ago now, and it still stayed with me. This resonates with me a lot in a lot of ways. This is going to stay with me for a long time. The main character, Alex, she suffers with paranoia and schizophrenia. And I know someone personally in my life who suffers with mild schizophrenia. So I kind of know what to expect going into this. And I fell in love with this book. The writing style and the main character, Alex, is such an amazing protagonist. The person who she kind of like has feelings for is a really interesting character as well. I started off at the start of the book really not liking the character at all, but as the book goes on, kind of like fall in love with them the same way she does and see all the redeeming qualities and the turnaround of the character. The character development was really good. All the bunch of side characters in this book were really, really fun to read about as well. Really good, strong group of characters. It made me cry. It made me laugh, but it made me cry. And it's rare books make me cry. It is rare. And because of that, and because of the twist that happened, and I was sitting upstairs reading it while he was downstairs doing something with his dad, with my mouth hanging open, just crying for half an hour after I read the certain event that happens in the book. So it really touched me. This was a 5-star read. It was absolutely brilliant. Recommend this one. Really do recommend this one. Maybe not the best book to read if you are already kind of feeling down and emotional. But I read it just at the right time, I think. Just at the right time in my life I read this. And yeah, I absolutely love this, so I recommend checking this one out too. The next 2 are a duology. Lee bought me the first one for Christmas, and I read it at the start of the year in January and absolutely loved it, and then I had to wait about 5 months for the sequel. Well, about 4 months for the sequel, which killed me. But I absolutely love this. I really do and it's Daughter of the Pirate King and Daughter of the Siren Queen by Tricia Levenseller. It's a duology. This is absolutely amazing. It's so funny. So funny. I heard about Daughter of the Pirate King on BookTube for quite a while and I bought it. I didn't read it. Well, I didn't buy it. Lee bought it me. I heard about it and I had to wait for him to get it me for Christmas. I was dying to read it. Really dying to read it. And as soon as I had it, I read it. And so good. I've never read about pirates before. So that was the first like experience, and so good, full of like suspense and funny moments, and kind of like keeps you on the edge because there's constantly something happening. And the main character, Alosa, people say she's like a female Jack Sparrow. She's not in my opinion, because personally I find her really annoying. She's a badass. She is just she's such a good protagonist, and the love interest in it is really funny as well. Also, like characters as well. Basically, she obviously, her dad is the Pirate King, who everyone looks up to and fears and all that kind of thing. So she lets herself get captured by a rival ship, and for her dad, and she's got to find these 3 pieces of this treasure map that all connect and will lead everybody to this massive, huge island. It contains everything pirates love, like gold and all that kind of thing, and money and stuff. But obviously things happen along the way, things change, there's risks, people die, all that kind of thing. But it's so good. These are really, really good. Like I said, I've never read about pirates before. I knew nothing about what it was really about, just I only knew the title of the book. It's so good. It really surprised me. It gave me a book hangover. I didn't read anything for about a month, I don't think. And if I did, it was kind of just like Nimona and really like short books. And the sequel is just as good. It's even better, really, in my opinion. Everything wrapped up the way I wanted it to. But yeah, you really need to read. I couldn't stop reading this. I could not put this book down. It's so good. I gave both of these books 5 stars. I spoke to Tricia on Goodreads and asked her if any more books are going to be set in this universe, and she said no, unfortunately not, which did upset me quite a bit. But she's writing a new fantasy series this year, so I'm looking out for that one. The first book, whenever it's out, I will be buying it and I'll be reading it. She's going to be like an author by author kind of thing for me now, because I love her writing style. So yeah, I can't wait. I recommend checking these out as well. They're really good, like fantasy, kind of like pirate fantasy. Amazing. And this next one, really did surprise me. I vlogged my experience of reading this, so if you're interested, go and check it out. It's on my channel, because it's the first time I read a book by this author, and I was kind of intimidated. I don't know why I was so intimidated, because I loved this book. And it's A Long Walk by Stephen King. Writing is Richard Bachman. And it's, I'm still thinking about this book now. I think I read this again about 3 weeks ago, and it's still in my head. I'm still thinking about it. I haven't read dystopian for quite a long time, and I read this. It's about 339 pages, the book is. I think I read it within about 5 days, 4 or 5 days. Like I said, I vlogged it. It's so intense, full of suspense and twists, and it's basically like I said, called The Long Walk. And there's this group of boys and men, 100 people, who all take on this 450-mile walk, which is kind of set up by their government. Whoever can walk the longest, like the furthest distance, who's the last one walking, basically wins. And you can't stop for anything. You can't stop to eat. You can't stop to go to the toilet, anything. So basically, if you need to urinate, you have to walk at the same time as doing it. You can't stop. You get 3 warnings. After your 3rd warning, you're shot. So say if you get a warning at like 10 a.m. in the morning and don't get any more by 11 a.m, that previous warning is revoked. So you're okay for a while, obviously, until you get your next one. But yeah, obviously people die. There's twists, there's turns, all that kind of thing. The thought process of these kids, because the main character is about 16, and he befriends a few other characters who are around the same age, from like 16 to 20 years old, and the conversations that they have as they're going through the physical changes and the mental changes, and obviously the mental trauma and all that kind of thing, going from the start of it as you go through with their thought process and conversations they have, is hard to read about. It's hard to read about, but it's so interesting, and like I said, full of suspense, and so like it's making me emotional. But reading about these characters and these things they go through is very eerie and very thought-provoking. It really makes you think as well. Like I said, really makes you think. Whoever wins obviously wins money and things, and whatever they wish for is granted for them, basically. The ending was very strange. I read this book based on a recommendation from Emily on her channel, Books with Emily Fox. She convinced me to read this because she's read this and a few of his others now, and I'm so glad she did. And I know what she means because she said his books, she's read a lot of them. His books start off very, very strong and really pull you in, and they're interesting and they're full of intricate, interwoven details that are really interesting to read about. But the ending of his books aren't as good, and I kind of know what she means. Even though I've only read this one, the ending was very, very weird. Very weird. I wasn't completely satisfied with the ending, but again, I gave this book 5 stars because it was amazing. It's still one of these books that I'm still going to be thinking about this time next year. I just know I am. So yeah, recommend this. I know a lot of people have read Stephen King. I know they have. You can just tell. You hear people talk about him all the time. The magnitude of this author is crazy. But yeah, if you don't really know where to start, I would recommend writing as this, because I know people say he's kind of like, he's very descriptive and very wordy, but I didn't find that in this book. I thought it was amazing. So yeah, I recommend checking this one out too. And this one is a retelling of one of my favourite stories, like ever. Retelling. It's called Alice by Christina Henry, if you haven't guessed. Retelling of Alice in Wonderland. So obviously most people would know the story, so I don't have to go into it too much, but like I said, it's a darker retelling. And I love this. I really love this. It's very, very eerie, very creepy. Kind of hard to read about as well, just to trigger warning if you are going to read this. There's obviously death and things and people are killed. It's quite brutal and there's blood and things, but yeah, just a trigger warning for rape and abuse and all that kind of thing, and language. But I love this book. I really love this book. I love Christina Henry's portrayal, characterization of Alice was awesome. Really, really interesting. Even though she's already a character that we know, it's very original. The way she's written is very original. Her friend Hatcher, who's basically like a human version of the Mad Hatter, is my favourite character. Even though he's kind of twisted and is like a murderer and things, I was rooting for him when I really liked the character. Or say, like, you know, Cheshire Cat. He's a human. Like all of the characters we're used to seeing as animals in Alice in Wonderland are portrayed as humans, but with like weird kind of like disfigurements and all that kind of thing. I won't go into it too much because if you go into it not knowing much about them, it's so much more creepy when you do discover these characters. But this was so good, so twisted, dark and twisted and weird, which is what I do love in books. I love fine books. And I read the sequel, Red Queen, which in my opinion wasn't as good. This was better. I gave this 5 stars as well. So good. Still thinking about this now as well. I think I read it within about 3 days. It didn't take me very long to read because I couldn't stop. But this is so good as well. I've got The Lost Boy as well by Christina Henry, which is a retelling of Peter Pan, and I've got The Mermaid, which is a retelling of The Little Mermaid. Apparently I'm in the mood for retellings. I've read a few retellings like in a row over the last couple of months. But yeah, this was really good. I recommend checking this one out too. The last one I'm going to talk about as well, I read within about 2 days. I knew this was in my 5-star book predictions video. Basically books I think I was going to give 5 stars to, and so far the ones I have read, I haven't been wrong because I have given them 5 stars. But I absolutely love this one. As soon as I got this one, I started reading it, and that is Your Welcome Universe by Whitney Gardner. Can't remember the main character. Oh, Julia, that's the name. Right, okay. The main character, Julia, is deaf. She's deaf and she's in a specialist school for deaf people, and something is said about her best friend, so she writes, basically like rebels against that and like writes some insults on the gym wall of the school. She gets expelled and she has to go to like a mainstream school where nobody knows she's deaf. She befriends one girl who knows she's deaf, and it's about her basically coping with life, about things, everyday things, how she deals with it, dealing with what she has to go through and all the judgments and all that kind of thing, be it good or bad from people, tackling life and tackling everyday things with the difficulty of not being able to really communicate that well and people not really understanding her. She's adopted by a female-female relationship, parental relationship, which was awesome to read about and we don't see enough about, and they were both lovely. Both her parents are deaf as well. It's basically just her navigating through life in her quirky, unique way about how she deals with things, how she sees people, and obviously her thought process when she's talking to people don't quite understand her. Some of the things she says in her mind, some of the things she thinks are really, really funny. I really love Julia as a character. She's really, really witty and clever and funny, but no romance. No romance at all in this book either for a contemporary, which basically for me that's what made it one of my favourite books. I love this book. I really want to reread it now, even though I read it this year. Like I said, I read this within 2 days. I flew through it. I couldn't stop. And I gave this one 5 stars as well. So refreshing to read a contemporary with no romance in, with a female-female parental relationship. It's basically just about family and friendship, which was awesome. And again, Julia is an artist. She can write and she can draw and she can paint. She's really talented as well. And obviously you see paintings and sketches and stuff that she does in the book. I'll just show you one now that she does. But this, I don't know what it is about this book. It's just really, really stayed with me. This is one of the designs that she puts on the wall. It's so cool. And obviously you don't even know what it's about because it's just a picture, but if you read the book you'll know why that's there and what it means. Basically all of her emotions and what she's thinking come out in her graffiti. But I loved it. So fun. Very quick, fast-paced, fun book to read. So I recommend this one as well. This was awesome. So yeah, that's it for this video. I'll probably do another one of these at the end of the year because obviously we've still got like 5-6 months left of the rest of the year. So hopefully I will be reading some really good books as well in the next few coming months. I hope a few that I've bought that I wanted to read, I know I'm probably going to really like, so I'm going to enjoy reading them. So I'll do another one of these at the end of the year. If you did like this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe so you don't miss any future videos, and I will see you very soon with another one. Bye.